Medical doctors say you're liable to go psychotic.
Welcome back to the next step on this long journey in our hero's mighty quest. Let him unleash his mighty war cry out into the sky. Shala, la la la, la la la. So, when you take a big fat step back and look at how this series has evolved over the years, you may realize that it hasn't evolved over the years. Gameplay-wise, when you compare this to the most recent one, there really isn't a whole lot of difference in how the battles go. I would venture to say that the only thing holding this franchise together is the art direction of Akira Toriyama. That's right, Dragon Ball Z creator Akira Toriyama designed all of the monsters in this game. I think this was one of the first video games that he worked on, and he talked about how it was a bit of a different thought art-wise because he was used to drawing things that move, and you can't have a whole lot of detail on something you have to draw hundreds of times, but in a video game the rules are different, you see. It's just a static image, so you could add more detail if you wanted. Yes indeed, wise words from Akira Toriyama. There's the next town, by the way. We just gotta fight, we gotta fight Art Spiegelman's mouse. That's what's even the joke there. You guys ever read Art Spiegelman's Mouse? When I was in German class as a wee lad, we had the option of reading that. The teacher just left a copy out there for us to look at. I do recall that about a year ago there was some kind of controversy related to Art Spiegelman's mouse. I remember CNN's Don Lemon was trying to use the book as some kind of political prop to push some goofy message, and you could tell that he had never even read the book or even knew what it was. He was struggling to read the name of it off of the teleprompter. Fuck you, CNN's Don Lemon, you don't know. You're a hack. You're not even good at interviewing people, and that's your whole job. You're just constantly interrupting people when they're in the middle of making a good point, and all just so you can say something that adds nothing to the conversation. You suck, CNN's Don Lemon. Can't go through that door yet. What do you think's in that treasure chest? Do you think it's a picture of CNN's Don Lemon? Here's the king, by the way. He's the father of the party member that's supposed to join us eventually. He says, "My boy, this peace is what all true warriors strive for. I wonder what's for dinner. 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 Dinner." I always liked it in YouTube poops where they just stretch out a vowel sound so it just sounds like a machine malfunctioning, just comedy gold. Speaking of YouTube poops, I was watching one that was based on the SpongeBob Halloween special. It was called the Spongy Hall of Ween. And there was a scene with the Flying Dutchman, and they cut out like the middle of his audio, so he says, "Rawr, I am the Flutchman." That's all it takes to make a fool like me laugh. Oh, by the way, have I talked about the difference in nomenclature between Dragon Warrior and Dragon Quest? I don't know why I'm pausing for a response. You can't say anything back, but in the earlier days of this series, they called this Dragon Warrior, and then they had to change it to Dragon Quest later because they learned that they didn't have the rights to the Dragon Warrior name. It was owned by some board game. As they say in the theme song for Kung Fu Panda, the Nickelodeon's TV series, he has to earn the Dragon Warrior name. What a callback. My god. Something so clever, and I just thought of it right off the top of my head. Yeah, you guys ever see Kung Fu Panda? Jack Black is in it. He says, "Oh man," and he teaches Elmo about octagons. I might be thinking of a different thing. Gosh, this encounter rate is a heck of a thing, huh? Just one after another. So, are you feeling adventurous, dear viewer? This game's supposed to be a grand adventure after all. Kinda hard to get in the adventurous spirit with such simple NES graphics, I suppose. These are new enemies. Are these the 3 blind mice that they warned us of in the folklore? Even though there's 2 of them. Well, just one of them. Well, now none of them. This game's moving faster than I can keep up with. So yeah, those were big rats, huh? Like the Germa video. Maybe if I mention Germa, people will like me more. People like Germa, so maybe by extension they'll think, this guy knows who Germa is, I respect him more. Okay, so here we got the first dungeon. The dungeon theme in this one is different than the standard Dragon Quest theme. I guess perhaps it hadn't been composed yet and they added it in a later game, although I couldn't tell you which. You know, the one that goes yeah, that one, I think. I might have combined 2 different things actually. I think the last half of that was just the battle theme from the newer games. Anyway, yeah. So if you're still not feeling adventurous enough, let me put on an adventurous tune. How about that?
Watch out to Wigger, she's a proper Judy Jew. Give her a sheet, let her rip with a voice to pull her through. You ought to see us running, the wind will blow you free. On a passage from the Dogger Bank to Grey Grimsby.
That do anything for you? And title card music from SpongeBob? It's from the Sailor Mouth episode. Remember that one? You know, there's some less than bright people out there who are trying to find the uncensored version of Sailor Mouth where the actors actually do the swears, quote unquote, and you fool, such a thing has never even been made. You think they actually had the actors just cuss like truckers into the microphone on an episode of SpongeBob and they beeped it out afterwards? That's not how it works. Anywho, so the goal of what we're trying to do in this cave is we have to visit the Spring of Bravery and get the wizard's blessing. All of that sounds made up, but it's not. All of those generic fantasy terms are perfectly valid here. This is very much 80s high fantasy type stuff. Sort of like one of those old 80s fantasy movies you'd see, like The Never-Ending Story, perhaps. You've been seeing those AI-generated videos where they try to imagine different media properties as an 80s sci-fi fantasy movie. They did one for SpongeBob, they did one for Smash Bros, and you know, maybe they could do one for Dragon Warrior / Dragon Quest. I mean, the theming's already there, they wouldn't have to change much. That might look kinda cool, you know. Good way to branch out with this franchise. Poor old Dragon Quest has never quite hit it big in the West. They got kinda close with Dragon Quest XI, but it's still not the big huge thing that it is in Japan. I think with one of the Dragon Quest games they had to... The Japanese government called Enix and told them to reschedule the game for a weekend release because they were worried it was going to hurt the economy if so many people took the day off to play the new Dragon Quest during the week. That is a real fact. Dragon Quest used to be absolutely huge over there. Akira Toriyama is just Japan's golden goose.